It's gonna be awkward. Oh, it's on. Okay, there we go. That's the part that Hi, everyone. Welcome to. Oh, there we go. The Gayest panel at TwitchCon. Yay! You can clap, yay! Yeah, this is a panel where we detail our LGBTQIA experiences, and it's mainly a panel for the people. I mean, it's like we talk about ourselves, but there's gonna be a lot of room for Q&A. So if you have any specific questions, we ask that you keep it to like a minute long answer. I guess that's for us. But yeah, think of your questions, and at the end we're gonna be talking. So let's begin. I am Bloody, and then down the line, let's just kind of introduce ourselves and yeah, who we are, what are the spaces that we curate, starting with JoJo.
Hi, I'm JoJo Solos. I play a lot of Minecraft and stuff, but I try to do some variety. Just have a community of hopefully a lot of allies and a lot of people in the LGBTQIA plus community, always supporting each other. I mean, even on Discord as well, we make sure everyone feels safe and welcomed. But yeah, that's me, Shelby.
Hello, I'm Shelby. I'm also known as Shovel Online. I also play a lot of Minecraft. I've been a content creator for over 10 years, building a community, hopefully where people can feel safe to be themselves and just like not feel like an outcast.
Hi everyone, I'm Datoon. I do a lot of indie horror games, a lot of just chatting, and IRL paranormal streams, which is like kind of fun. And I kind of wanted to create a space where what I didn't have when I was younger, as a pansexual and a person of color. The internet wasn't the most kind to me growing up, and that was the biggest stress that I wanted to do, give a space that I didn't have, and it's kind of nice.
Hi everyone, my name is Veronica Ripley. I go by Nicotine online. I do a lot of simulation games. I do a lot of role play. I ban a lot of people on twitch.tv. I also founded Transmission Gaming. It's a huge Discord server for trans people, so if you're trans.
Heck yeah. Well, we're going to go back down the line in the opposite direction and just talk a bit more about how your gayness plays a part in your Twitch experience, whether it's your personal experience as a content creator, whether it's how, you manage your community, et cetera, et cetera. And starting with Nicotine.
Oh! So part of the whole reason that I stream, I like to tell people that, that if I had like one goal for my streaming career, it would be to be the type of person who I just really needed to see when I was starting out. How kid me could have just desperately needed to see someone, just to see that it was going to be okay, that it could be fine, and you could live like a happy, normal life with friends and be like, okay. That was frustratingly few and far between when I was younger. So if I had one goal as a streamer, it would be to just provide that space for other people. So I think that a lot of the roleplay community leans pretty queer. I think that roleplay in general, like a lot of you could probably attest to the fact that roleplay is a huge form of self-expression, and so a lot of queer people find a lot of value in roleplay. So that's a big part of what I do, and that's a big part of how gayness plays a part in it.
For me, it's pretty similar. I just really wanted to have a space again where I also could, feel comfortable in something I wish I had growing up, and creating a space where we could be fully open in ourselves and understanding all of our walks of life was a very, very crucial part of why I even wanted to stream. So having my pansexualness and everything that comes with it as a cornerstone of how we can develop our entire community and how we interact with each other was such a big cornerstone of why I even wanted to get on this platform. So it's pretty much echoing a lot of the same sentiment and just a different corner of the internet, and it's really nice.
Mine is also going to be a very similar answer. I especially wanted to make a community because as a kid I didn't feel like I had somewhere where I fit in, so I wanted to make somewhere where people like me could all come together. And you touched on role play, and I do quite a bit of Minecraft role play, kind of in a D&D style, so I always get to play a different character. And I've made the blanket statement, every character I will ever play is also asexual, but all of them are going to have different experiences. They're going to have different romantic experiences and relationships, and the way that they present within the sexuality will always be different, and I like being able to show how varied being asexual can look with games.
I can't top any of this. They pretty much covered all the bases. I mean, for me, and I think we'll touch on this a little bit later as well, I actually discovered myself and what my labels are through Twitch. I'm not going to spoil. We're going to talk about that soon. But yeah, it's huge. I mean, monumental. And Twitch has made me feel far more included, at least growing up, than anywhere else. So, I mean, huge part of my life.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, obviously echoing like wanting to create a space where you can feel comfortable as yourself. I think one pivotal moment for me was like just being able to hear someone felt comfy, maybe like coming out to a friend, or just in general, or just feeling like they have seen a lot of people around them be themselves and they feel comfortable being themselves as well. Is really a pivotal part to what I try to do. It's like my whole goal of creating content is, yeah, creating a space like what Nicotine said too, is like, I don't know, when I was a kid, I did not see any trans people on the internet. Like it was just not really a thing. And so it's really important to me that I could create a space where people can kind of see themselves in me and in my community and feel comfortable being themselves kind of as a result. But the next part here, looping back to JoJo, is discovering yourself through the Twitch community.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to do like a TLDR here, but growing up, it was evident that my parents weren't extremely supportive, and of course, growing up, I didn't really know what it meant. Then I ended up getting a girlfriend, and even though I had a girlfriend, I still, in my head, was like, I'm like straight, but like this, it's just this one person. Like this is my only one person. And then I just kept streaming, and eventually, you know, things started looking up and up, and people started asking me like, hey, what are your labels? Like, what are you? And people on Twitch didn't know I had a girlfriend. I was still very protected, very shielded. I was like, I am straight, but I have a girlfriend, but just don't mind that. But yeah, no, I mean, Twitch and the community, the people, they gave me the knowledge of what it meant to be in the LGBTQIA+. I mean, I'm still learning. I still don't know every flag or every label, and I think it's good to continue learning. And eventually I found myself finding pansexual as the label that represented me the most. And I learned that purely through chat. So shout out to chat. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people on the internet who are always looking for an open space and a place where they'll feel comfortable and welcomed. And for me, it was like they found me and I felt welcomed. So that's why I try to do it the other way around now, where I'm like, please, if you need help, like come here. If you want to just feel comfortable, happy, whatever, come here. So yeah, I mean, huge for Twitch. I don't know if I would still say I'm straight, but I have a girlfriend. But I'm definitely happy that I can assign myself a label now. And I'm proud, too. That's the other thing. I'm proud. So, thank you. Yeah.
So sliding over to Shelby.
Hello, I'm the ACE representation. Something I like mentioning in my community a lot while I'm streaming is talking about what it means to be asexual, what it means to be on the asexual spectrum, because it's very, like, not a very talked about community, and it's very misrepresented and misunderstood as a community. So I stream under the LGBT tag, so a lot of people will come in my chat and they're like, what is she? Is she gay? Or like what? And I'll tell them I'm asexual, or I'm on the asexual spectrum, and they always ask what that is. So I take every opportunity to teach and represent it as properly as I can and express like the accuracy of how varied living as an asexual can be, how varied being in a relationship with an asexual can be. And it can be very confusing for people. They don't fully understand it, but like with all sexuality and just gender, it's all on a spectrum. And you really just have to get to know everybody as an individual. So that's what I try to encourage the most, is give everybody a chance. Ask them questions. Find out who they are and what being ace means for them. Because it will always be different. Everybody is just a different person, and everybody deserves to be known.
And then we'll slide on over to D-Tune.
Yeah. So one of the big things I want to touch is the intersectionality between being a person of color on the internet and being in the LGBTQIA plus community, and the obstacles that come along with that. Basically, growing up, it was really hard for me to come to terms with that side of myself through media representation, through expectations within certain communities. It was just something I kind of had to push away. And it wasn't something until fairly recently that I kind of also came to terms with who I am and understanding that. And it again was through Twitch chat, who also helped me figure out, what this all means and where I felt comfortable labeling myself. And it was a very, very pivotal moment for me. It was a very emotional moment, and they just loved showing me the clip of it, and when it realizes on my face. But I think it's very important to kind of find that center within you, going through the challenges of understanding there is so much going on within different communities and that intersectionality and when it meets and how to push through a lot of the obstacles and find your grounding. Streaming on Twitch as a person of color already has its challenges, and then you add the tags to it along with being pansexual and everything into there, and it adds a lot more of unique challenges. But I feel like hitting it head on and really understanding who you are and being proud of who you are and cultivating a space around you that gives others the confidence to do as well is such a special and huge and pivotal thing. And I'm just really excited to be a part of this platform where we can do something like this and help those who feel the same and are navigating the same type of I guess, I don't know, obstacles in your brain to figure out where you're coming from and who you are, and then we can share this together. And I'm glad that I faced a lot of these challenges because it made getting to where I am and understanding myself so much more special to me. And I really hope it kind of helps others once they hit that moment as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. And then sliding down to nicotine, and then loop back around to me with the trans experience.
So, being an out trans person online is one of the most specific experiences. It's very difficult. It almost defies like a terse little explanation. On one hand, you have access to a community that is incredibly supportive sometimes for some people for the very first time, an incredibly supportive community full of vibrant and wonderful people. And on the other hand, you have a lot of trolls. But the nature of live streaming, specifically as it relates to this, is so interesting because as a trans creator, you'll end up getting people whose tags are like Wondering Sarah or finally Jess or Becoming Ruby, and every so often these people they'll stick around and they'll be some of your best friends. And sometimes they'll move on. They'll move along. They'll have found your content and it struck something inside of them, and they finally feel ready to graduate in their life to become a new person, and it's very, very special. But every so often, you'll get a message from some of these people. You'll get an email, or you'll get a DM, or you'll get something, and they'll be like, "Hey, I watched your stream 4 years ago, and I just want you to know I'm doing really good now, and I've changed my gender," and all this stuff, and it's very, very sweet. Every time it brings me to tears, and honestly, that's worth any amount of trolling or any whatever. It's so special. So, the trans experience is it's diverse in that way. It's very juxtaposed, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, that was very well said. The whole thing with the DMs is very, very special. I figured that nicotine would kind of nail it on the head. So I have a specific story of how I became a streamer. And it was 2018. I was working adjacent to streaming. I was never a content creator or anything. But I decided finally that I would come out and start HRT. And I had no idea. I was like, a little present on the internet. I was an event coordinator. I made a tweet. I made a video, I made a tweet, and it was sort of detailing the fact that, unfortunately my parents were very unsupportive of me coming out as trans. And that was an obstacle that I was able to push through, thanks to the people that I care about. The people that really cared about me, supported me, and that really mattered to me. And I wanted to share that with everyone. So I just put out a little video. I had like 300 followers. And it got like a million views on Twitter, something I'd never seen before. And the DMs I was getting of just seeing your video, just feeling like I could relate a little bit, inspire me to come out to my brother, or to maybe start thinking a bit more critically about my gender. And just seeing DMs that I was able to help anyone discover themselves in any way was genuinely life-changing to me. And I thought that's what I want to do. That's the thing that I want to do. And so within a few months, I became a streamer. I've been streaming for 5 years now, and it's been so important to me that I'm able to just be unabashedly trans and myself, and just try to be a beacon for people who are trying to understand themselves better, and to be able to gather people together to do charity work for trans charities, and to just have these big things where I try to pull in a bunch of other people to just sort of, trans rights is human rights, and being able to say that as far and wide as I can is just, that's kind of my goal and the thing that I love to do the most. So. Yeah, so we'll just go down the line, starting with JoJo, and sort of tell us what your hope is for the Twitch platform. What do you think are things that Twitch can do, or just in general can be done to sort of uplift the queer community?
This is a hard question. I was not prepared for this.
It's also okay to skip if you'd like. Totally cool.
Yeah, I will say, I do appreciate that Twitch has the categories that you can add. I think that helps with at least finding streamers who are in the community. I think that was a huge step. But yeah, I hope in general the moderation is a little bit stronger, because sometimes a few comments do slip by, and I do have auto mod enabled and I have my mods, but yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more push for making sure that certain statements can't make it through. But I think in general they've been doing really well recently, but that's just my opinion. I don't know, skip.
Yeah, I guess I agree with the same thing about moderation, and I would only just want to encourage Twitch to continue to try and keep us feeling as safe as possible on their platform, try and uplift their creators that are their representatives for different communities as much as they can. I think they do that a lot with whenever it's Ace Week, they put a creator up on a billboard in New York, and I think just continuing to push people that represent different lives and support them.
Yeah, I agree with the moderation thing. I don't know if any of you remember the summer of those hate raids happening.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And I was one of the one of the heavy targets for that, and seeing where Twitch has come from that summer to now as far as moderation tools, shield mode, all of these things that we have at our disposal has helped a ton in going down this path. Obviously there's always going to be more we need to do, but seeing the progress in real time is amazing. So I hope that this is something that Twitch will be continuing to improve, continuing to make smarter tweaks and changes on. The tag system has been incredible, especially I like rating new people. I like finding new people in these really obscure directories when I'm playing an indie horror game, and seeing the tags and understanding that my community will feel safe over there and feel accepted over there is such a huge part of finding new people, finding people within the LGBT community, and understanding that wherever we go, we can still be ourselves. So having those steps and continuing to move forward, I think, is a really huge thing, and I hope Twitch continues to push that.
When I started streaming years ago, we had something called communities. I don't know if you're familiar with any of these. I've seen some heads nodding. We had communities. Yeah, you forgot about communities, didn't you? We had this thing called communities, and communities was basically a user-generated tag system, and anybody could make a tag, and anybody could stream to any tag that you wanted, and all you had to do was search for that. And we had an incredible time as minorities on this platform. Being able to like find each other and foster a community was so simple and so easy. And then Twitch was like, hey, what if you had 3 communities? And our minds were blown. We're like, oh my God, we could have 3 of them? Finally. And then a year later, all of that was replaced with some pre-generated tag system. And so for years, I remember trying to rally Twitch to let us just pick those tags again, because they just left out a trans tag. And I know that a lot of people are calling it identity tags, but I disagree with that fundamentally, because I believe that trans content is trans content, right? If you're discussing trans issues, that's content. That's not an identity. You know what I mean? So I'm really, really proud and happy that Twitch has decided to allow user-generated tags again. I think that's really, really important. And I've seen a huge number of people, an influx of people, because finally the floodgates are back open and we can find each other again. So great job, Twitch. Thank you. Also, we've seen a ton of other mod tools too. We have shared moderator comments now. We have shield mode. You mentioned shield mode. There's chat filters now, where you have to meet a certain number of requirements to talk. Oh my God, I used to get, my mods used to ban like 5 people a day. We're down to like 1 or 2. It's nuts.
Let's go.
It's nuts.
It's
1 or 2 people who deserve it. But I think if Twitch was, if I had to encourage Twitch to do anything, I would say continue to innovate mod tools, because the stuff you've been doing lately is so good. And there are a ton of other initiatives too that Twitch is doing really, really well. Like spotlighting queer and BIPOC creators is really, really important, and showcasing Twitch's public support for that is really, really important too, because when Twitch supports us, it normalizes the experience. Charity events too, lots of charity events on Twitch happen for queer and BIPOC creators, and that's super, super important. So thanks for spotlighting those, Twitch. And then just continuing to do outreach stuff like this. This is really important. So thank you guys for showing up. That's all.
That's awesome. Yeah, that mirrors a lot of what I said. I mean, this time in 2019, when we were on the panel together, the Gayest panel at TwitchCon, we were yelling, like, make the trans tag a thing. So things have come a long way. I'd say, yeah, the only thing that I could echo here is that Twitch does more focused efforts to amplify queer voices and our stories, and there's surely so many people out there who are looking for people like us who have not quite found us, and I just hope that over time Twitch is able to do more and more things to amplify our voices and get us in whatever corners of the internet we need to be to try to help everyone that we can, whether it's through front paging, or whether it's through even tweets or things like this. Efforts like this matter a lot, and I just hope to see more of it in the future. I think this is a really fun one. What is your, it doesn't have to be the number one, it could be one of the happiest if it's hard to choose, but what's kind of your happiest experience in relation to being queer on Twitch, starting with JoJo?
Ooh. These are hard questions. I don't even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. So, well, there's a couple key points that I guess I remember. I mean, especially when I was learning a lot about the different tags that or labels that you can be. I remember specifically, like, I think I was live. I'm like 99% sure I was. Someone was asking, are you gay, bi, pan? And I was like, what is pan? Like, pansexual, pan? So I Googled it, and as I was reading it, I was like, yeah, this kind of makes sense. And like that is, I remember being in my college apartment just reading that. I don't know why that is so clear in my mind. And then the other experience is, I mean, my girlfriend came over and I announced to my stream that I had a girlfriend for the first time ever. So that was really cool.
Yeah, I think my favorite experience, especially coming to TwitchCon and getting to see the people that watch me in person, people will come up to me and they'll tell me how they discovered what asexuality means through watching me, and how they've discovered who they are and how much more they've been able to explore themselves because I taught them that first word, because not everybody knows that word, asexual. They think there's something wrong with them, they're broken, there's something off, that they're not the way that other people are, and they can tell. And it touches my heart the most when they come up and they say thank you so much for talking about it, so that, you know, they were able to discover that. And that's what was so cool about my meet and greet. That's what's so cool about coming to these events in person, and also every day on Twitch that I'm live, when people are like, thank you, Shelby, for being our ACE spokesperson, or ACE Jesus, they called me once. Yeah.
I think my happiest experience is one that is like a continuation. A lot of the people in my community have kind of gone on the same journey I have been, with finding myself around the same time. And like once every few streams, we have somebody share their story of like, they just came out to their parents, they just came out to, you know, to those important to them, and just celebrating that they felt encouraged and empowered with the little space that we created, that they can fully be themselves. And there's some people in this room, and if I look at you, I'll probably tear up because your stories are beautiful. But it's something that I cherish and I really love about Twitch, where we can kind of live side by side and go through similar experiences in similar spaces. And it's something that continues to happen within the community, and it'll always be one of my happiest things I get to see on our platform.
Nice. It's hard to pick just one, honestly. A little while before Twitter was bought out by the worst Bond wannabe supervillain, I made a coming out post on Twitter, and for all my Twitch chatters, and it was a whole coming out post about how much I love women, and I promoted it to make it everyone's problem. It was awesome. But, I mean, it's, like I said, it's difficult to pick just one. I think if I had to say anything, I'd feel like I'd regret it if I didn't just mention again just those, every so often you get those messages. You get them too. Yeah. That's just like somebody found your stream and they're like, oh, I'm living like a whole life now, and I've transitioned, and it turns out everything was fine, and it's just very good. So
Yeah, similar experiences, I'd say. It's hard to pick the happiest. I think sometimes when I do the big charity streams, it's really fun. I'd say getting those DMs. So watching someone's username change from something a bit more masked to something a bit more magical is pretty great.
that too.
To know that I, as a single human, can impact any other single person's life in a way that can really change the course of their happiness is like mind-blowing. So anytime that happens, it's just like a repeat of the happiest experience. Anytime I get a DM, anytime I see a username or a profile picture change, it's like what brings me some of the most joy in my life. And I'm able to do it because I'm able to be myself in front of so many people, and it's like what D-Tunes said, we're living our lives side by side with each other, and just seeing people kind of walk in a direction that they're happier in is sort of the highlight of doing what I do. Yeah. Cool. Let's see. I think. Oh yeah. Look. Before we get to Q&A, there's a Trans Streamers and Allies community meetup later at 3:30 to 4:30. So if you feel like going and talking to some gays, feel free to head over there. But yeah, this is This is, it was pretty important to us that we leave a lot of space for folks to ask their questions, because this is really about y'all. And, you know, that there's microphones in the back, so anyone who has any questions that they've been sitting on, feel free to hop on back there. You can just kind of form a line as you please, and we'll just try to get to everyone's questions as you can. So. Yeah, and then feel free to, if it's a question for a specific person, feel free to say so. If it's a question for everyone, we can just pick at random or do whatever. And then for my fellow panelists, if you feel really adamant, you could just yell "ooh" and raise your hand or something. So yeah, I guess the first question we can start. Whoever is ready, on the right, perhaps.
We're all too polite.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
And please make sure you speak directly into the microphone. I know it might sound weird.
I like to raid out to new people, especially when I end far later than I should be, and I don't know anyone who's live. Or I'm playing a new game, and it's a community that I don't know yet. I usually go and search for either the ADHD tags or the queer tags, and I enter their chat, and I say, hey, this is a really cool stream. What are your pronouns? As a test to see if my community and I will be safe in their chat. What questions do y'all ask to figure out if your community will be safe for someone you're raiding into?
I do something similar as well. I will either have me or one of my mods go by and just be like, hey, you know, ask either a pronoun question or ask just a general like vibe check question that doesn't seem too testy. That's like a weird little spot to navigate. But it's really important to make sure that like you're sending your people to a space that they are not going to get whiplash from. And definitely going through and doing something similar of asking pronouns, asking, you know, a little about them in a very quick way is good, because unfortunately some people also like to use tags as trolls on Twitch. So having that little extra step that you do is brilliant, and continuing to do that is great. I could probably give you a little more direct answers after the panel as I try to remember what my mods sometimes say. But yeah, it's early for me, I'm sorry.
That's something that I never thought about, but I'm going to start doing that now because that's such a smart idea. Just a simple, what are your pronouns?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Vibe check.
It's a really good vibe check. I know that was a question, but that's a good idea.
We're all just writing it down real quick.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and then over there in the red.
Hi there. This question is for anyone. Outside of your passion for making a safe space and queerness, how did you develop your niche, and how did that become your thing? And then how did you develop it in the queer community afterwards?
I have a really good answer for this one. Can I take
Go
this?
for it. Yeah.
So when I started streaming a long time ago, I was an Overwatch streamer.
Oh, wait, same.
So I thought it would be really fun to pretend to be good at Overwatch. I was not good at Overwatch. And I got trolled mercilessly for it. And so after a little while, I was like, well, why don't I just do something that I'm better at? So I became a KSP streamer instead, which is a pretty big jump from Overwatch. And I found like a whole community of KSP streamers. And I noticed that like the intellectual side of like the type of person who's willing to sit down for 8 hours and build rocket ships with equations and stuff, they're generally like a little more open. It feels like to me anyway. And so I built up a little KSP community. And by that point, I'd started to branch out into other things like survival games or simulation games and finally role play. And I strive to this day to bring a little queerness to those fake worlds. So that's I endeavor to make like just to carve out a safe, beautiful little queer haven in fake roleplay worlds. So yeah, that was me.
I also would love to answer. On my end, I'm just a gamer with a capital gay. But I'm very determined to like play competitive games and challenges and stuff like that. And that's like a space that's usually very like
not queer dominated. And so it was interesting because I just started with like Magic the Gathering. And for years I would just sit there and grind the game and try to be as great as I can at the game. And it was funny because like I think my queerness sort of just shined through all my content. And so it was sort of just a very wide, slow moving net of like, hey, you know, people who are interested in this sort of like competitive environment who maybe you haven't found the right home, why don't you come on along? And like, not all people knew why they were jumping on board, but eventually they kind of figured it out. But yeah, it was really interesting. I think the best advice I have for carving out your niche is just do the thing that you want to do. The people will follow, and the community will be created as long as you just try to be unabashedly yourself. And I think like all of us could relate is like we've formed our spaces by being ourselves, and that's how we're happiest, and that's how people are happiest watching us.
I want to add to that. I really like the way you said that the people that are surrounded by you, the community you build, are people who are similar to you. And before even I knew, or rather accepted, that I was pan, people around me were in that community and it was building up. I feel like they knew before I did. So, but yeah, in regards to a niche, I mean, I've always played Minecraft. It's my main thing. And yeah, the community just comes with it. As long as you're yourself and you're true to yourself, I think that is the best that you can do.
I would love to also talk about Minecraft and my experience with Minecraft. And I touched on it earlier. I especially love, and I started playing Minecraft super early on when it started. I'm going to age myself, but I was 18 in college when it was like in beta, and I started playing.
How old are you?
I'm 30.
Jojo.
React that way.
No, you're very young. You're very young. Sorry.
I've been playing for a very, very long time, and what I loved about Minecraft immediately and what made me stay for that entire time was how that was my creative outlet. I could be anybody. I could make any world. I can live in any house. I can make up any story. And I think beginning that like journey with Minecraft eventually led me to making these characters that were like parts of me, and then I was fleshing them out and discovering more about myself by role-playing someone that maybe is like just a piece of me and getting to explore that.
I'll add a little bit as well. Yeah. So I started as an Overwatch streamer as well, and then kind of realized I wanted to branch out, and I started doing indie horror games because spooky and queer kind of go together, and it is what it is. And I wanted to see how I could take doing scary streams to the next level, so I had the idea of doing these IRL paranormal streams where like I go to these haunted places, and the big thing I wanted to do is like, because of shows like Ghost Adventures, it's been so like hyper bro masculine, and I'm like, it doesn't have to be that way. Like we could have our like real life spooky time too, and that's something I really wanted to strive to do is like, okay, well, if it doesn't exist, I will just carve my spot at this table, this show that we don't have to be these like macho bro, like frat guy. We can just like be ourselves and kind of usher in a whole group of people that would want to do the same thing, but there's nobody at like a level that they could watch going through this type of thing that is relatable. And I just thought that was really important, and no one was doing it, so I was like, I'll figure it out.
Thank you.
I'm confident of that. I think that's great.
Also, Palkuka 1620 for all those of you that want to be BattleNet scrubs together.
Question on the right with the lovely fan.
Oh yeah.
This might sound very random, but when have you ever felt the most gender?
Who wants to answer first? Or?
For me, it was a very specific earring I wore at one time, and it just like it hit my reflection in the mirror hit the right way, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that. This was like a big moment for me.
On my end, I don't know. When have I felt the most gender? I like my nice dresses. I feel like the first time I put on like a nice big flowery dress, I was like, oh damn, that's I'm a happy camper. I feel like honestly, yeah, I don't know.
it felt like it's sort of like just a long process to like, I look around and every day I feel very gender. But yeah, I'd say the most is when I'm wearing either a real fancy dress or like a nice button down and some overalls or something, or suspenders rather. I don't know. I think going hard one direction or the other direction makes me feel very happy.
When dress goes spinny.
Ooh.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Thank you.
Hi. First, shout out to all the ASL interpreters, not just those working this room, but who have been working their hands off this entire convention to provide that accessibility.
Also, can you please speak more directly into the mic?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You could tilt it as you please.
Okay. Yeah, that worked great. Okay. Hey, how's it going? I also wanted to thank you for the diversity that you're showing on this panel today as a cis white gay man. I am so tired of hearing from cis white gay men sometimes, so it's great to not see that voice represented up here. Sounds weird, but still. Nicotine, you mentioned Twitter, and this question is for everybody, but it sparked kind of the question. I have found that I cannot bring myself to use that platform anymore since the current developments. But I recognize that as a streamer, and particularly a small streamer, that hurts my visibility, that hurts my potential for growth. So and I certainly don't hold anything against anybody. You know, I'm not gonna ring the bell for everybody get off Twitter and that sort of a thing. Everybody's got to kind of make their own considerations, but I'm kind of wondering, like, how do you balance your queerness with some of those spaces that you need in order to grow and provide visibility, even if they're not necessarily what you jive with? And where do you kind of draw the lines, and where do you kind of say, hey, you know what, this may hurt in, you know, some aspects, but I got to stand for this?
That's an excellent question. I don't want to make it seem like there's just one company that's like so much better than the other, because companies are awful. Twitter specifically is really awful. So a big part of my community building is, it's necessary to spread out as a creator, right? It's necessary, and sometimes to a detriment to your own sanity, to have to be on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. It's exhausting. But a big part of my demographic is queer people, first of all. And second of all, I know that a lot of queer people hate Twitter. They hate Twitter. So I don't post on Twitter anymore. I've moved to Blue Sky. A lot of people are on Mastodon too. And personally, I find the community much, much queerer, much more engaged, much more fun. Like, there's memes and stuff again, and it feels new and fresh and good. And I hate living in a world where just like one person can ruin the party for everybody. But at the same time, we have a ton of options that are available, and over time, I'm sure that just like all of these other companies that have been bought by horrible people, it'll fade out and you'll end up going somewhere else. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to be on a dying platform? Or do you want to continue to spread out? And that's a personal question. You don't have to answer. And everybody's going to have a different answer for it. Like, some people are going to say, yeah, of course I want to be on Twitter. They can be wrong, but yeah. But it's a very personal thing. And so, yeah, I mean, it really depends on your demographic, right? If your demographic is queer and young and cool, then they're not going to be on Twitter. But if your demographic sucks, then head over to Twitter.
Yeah, just like echoing that, I think the way that I try to balance the, you know, stuff like Twitter is like, I actually used to be really afraid to post about being trans on Twitter. I didn't know what it was. I was like, maybe people won't follow me. But it's like, people follow me because I'm trans in a lot of circumstances. But I feel like nowadays I try to balance, you know, some of the crappiness of the platform by just trying to make it as gay as possible on my own terms. So, yeah, I mean, like, you know, we're always gonna have to use, well, you kind of choose what you want to do, but you can make your space your own, even if the greater space is owned by some shittier people.
Yeah, the one thing I try to like remind myself going on any platform is like, we exist there. We do. It's similar to the real world of like you have to find each other, but being loud, being proud, being yourself goes a long way. I'm still Twitter pilled. I shouldn't be. I should get off the website. But I've carved in such a healthy space that I can be as loud and proud as I want to be as myself, and I'm finding the people that are also looking for each other. So it's a weird balancing act on, do you want to mentally go through navigating that, or do you want to find a space that is inherently more open? It all just comes down to how you are kind of taking your journey. For me, I'm doing these same thing I try to do on Twitch of like, I refuse to not be allowed to be there. I'm going to be as loud and open and proud as possible so I can find my people so they feel safe, and then we can continue to cultivate and grow from there. But that does do a lot of toll mentally. So it's all part of your journey. And just protecting your own peace and your own sanity should be number one as well. Don't go too far into that expedition and deal with Twitter.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
your question. And then on the right.
So when I'm going live, I sometimes get those people that come into chat and they're just really rude, they're being aggressive, anti-trans, anti-gay, anti-LGBT in general. And I kind of got bored of just trying to ignore them or ban them as quickly as I could, and I I started using them to make content. So I just make fun of them instead. Like I just try to troll them as much as I can until they leave. Is that something you guys do, or is there like something else you guys do when you have trolls coming into your chat being really mean?
Yeah, I like doing that too.
It's
Sometimes I'm a sweep it under the rug kind of gal, but sometimes I'm like, no, we're going to talk about how ridiculous this was. Like, trying to make light of it and not let it, like, it's fine. If you don't like it, you want to ban it, that's fine. But, like, there's something empowering about not letting it bring you down and just being like, y'all, can we talk about how ridiculous this thing is? I also want to do a quick shout out to a streamer that I think is really awesome. Jordan Rasco. She does like a really funny thing where she has like this whole like transition slide on her OBS where someone goes in and is like transphobic or something. It's just this like wrestling style, like, oh, big man, we got a big man here. And just it is my favorite form of that ever. But I think that's super okay. I think it's extremely reasonable to make the fun you want out of it, because it's like, as soon as someone signs up to being a bad person, they also sign up to getting made fun of.
Real.
So that's...
Yeah. I play with your food, but protect your peace at the end of the day. Don't go too far to where it's like, I'm starting to take this in too much, but definitely play with your food a little bit. It's fun.
Yeah, it's something that I don't often like to give too much energy to, and most of the time they just want attention. They're just coming in here to get you to pay attention to them, and that if they didn't get it from their parents, that's not my job to give it to them now. But I do like they come in here with hundreds of people that are just inherently going to disagree with them, obviously, so I like making them feel real silly about it too sometimes.
I will say, I think I usually make fun, well, not always, but when I do, I usually make fun of like what they're saying, like, oh, you're so silly for saying that. Sometimes I am assertive about it though, and I'm like, why would you say that? Like, what are you missing in your life? What do you want from me that made you feel like you needed to say that to me? Just once in a while, especially if like I have a lot of new viewers, because I want to make sure boundaries are set and everyone understands like, I can talk about this. I will accept certain jokes about this. I mean, my community and we always make fun of it, of ourselves at least, not of other people. But when you're straight up bullying, sometimes I will be like, why? Like, what do you need from me? And then other times I just make fun of them because that makes me happy.
It's very important to maintain like a level of control in the chat, and it's very important that you protect people from harm. And I recently got a violin, and I keep it right by the stream. And I learned one song, and it's Claire de Lune. And whenever somebody comes into my chat to say something mean, I just get the violin and I start screeching out Claire de Lune while my mods ban them on this sinking ship. And it is the best feeling.
One petty thing that we do is sometimes before we ban somebody, we gift them a sub and then ban them. So then anytime they open up their remotes, they have to literally see my face. And it's just a little fun thing.
I love that. Thank you so much for your question. In the middle there. You got this.
So I don't think any of you guys have an obligation to, but do you guys find yourself using your platforms for like advocacy regarding LGBT rights and social issues regarding that?
I actually did not fully hear what you said. Could you please speak
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
So do you guys ever use your platforms to advocate for social rights and LGBT issues?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Like, what does that kind of look like for you guys?
On my end, it feels like an ongoing journey, like on a day-to-day. Like, it's important that I talk about trans rights, especially if a troll comes in and I don't want to give them attention. I can just kind of do a more positive thing. But sometimes it takes the form of like a charity stream. Sometimes it takes the form of like just screaming trans rights or human rights. Like, I don't know. I think it's just like a very big part of my life that like that's kind of always an ongoing conversation for me. But feel free to chime in, y'all.
Yeah. So I cover the news and current events on my channel as well, and most of that usually is advocating for, current human rights issues happening and what we could be doing, and rolling that into charity streams supporting these events as well. And that has always been a huge cornerstone of my channel and continues to be. So it is like a literal, every time I go live, that is in the forefront of my brain, covering what we can, explaining and breaking down complicated issues in ways that gets everyone on the same page and understanding these human rights and issues going on, that we can try to make differences and continue to do that fight.
Trans people are trans content when we're streaming, right? And so I think that any time a trans person goes live is a revolutionary act on the internet. So yeah, I absolutely. And personally, I'm bloody too. We raise money for charity all the time, and I think that's really important. But honestly, I would just encourage any trans person out there, if you're trans, try streaming.
True.
I always try to do my best on my social media platforms. I never want to get involved in a situation and take the microphone away from the people that are trying to communicate what's going on with their communities. So I try to do my best to use my platform to amplify their voices, give them the microphone, make it louder, give them a megaphone. But yeah, I try to offer support for everyone that needs it the most. I want people to be treated fairly and equally. Everyone deserves it.
Yeah, I will add, I admittedly haven't done too much in regards to like hosting my own events or charities and stuff, but similar to Shelby, I try to retweet or repost, whatever. I try to, amplify those voices, and then in my streaming live, it's being who I am and being pan or gay, this umbrella term, it always comes out while I play games. Like, it's always sort of in conversation, and I feel like people understand that and learn from it every day. So at least that's how it is for me.
Thank you so much for your question. Hello.
Hi there. So I want to get a little bit personal on this one. Whether it's online or offline, there's many aspects to just how people live their lives. So I'm wondering, do you have any advice or affirmations for those who are still on their path towards self-acceptance and being unapologetically authentic?
It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's fine. We're all fine. And you're going to be fine too. Because as tough and as scary and as frustrating as it is right now, It's gonna get better, I promise you, and it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. You're good. I believe in you.
And take as much time as you need. Everyone's journey is different. Everyone's, point of self-reflection is different. Never feel pressure that like, oh, I'm this age and I'm still like trying to figure it out. It does not matter. Take the time that you need and go on your personal journey, and just remember that it is yours. And that is such a big thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I have a very young audience, so I try to encourage, don't rush. Don't try and rush to picking a label. There's so many to explore. Take your time. If you change your mind about a label you chose, or you change your mind about the way that you feel, then change. You can change your mind. You can continue to discover yourself over time, but that's your journey. Labels are for you. They're not for other people. They're for you to feel comfortable with, so yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to doing the research that you need to really understand what it means to be a certain label. If it doesn't resonate with you, it just doesn't. And you don't need to pick one right away. For a brief time, there was a time where I kind of was unlabeled. I was like, I don't care what you think of me. I don't care what you call me. You can call me gay, bi, whatever. Like, I didn't care because I was still figuring it out within myself. So yeah, don't rush it. I completely agree with everything they've said so far.
Yeah, just to put a lid on it, every step you take to try to find out more about yourself is a good step. Every moment you think about the kind of person that you are is a step in the right direction, and it's a good moment. And if you can't figure yourself out right away, that's fine. It's a hard question to answer. Just what am I? Who am I? And I think just like the fact that anyone is thinking critically about really getting to know themselves better is like the only assurance that they need that, like Nicotine said, it'll be okay. It'll get better. As long as you are really trying to figure yourself out, you will figure yourself out. And things, I mean, they'll be better than okay. They'll be amazing. And yeah, you just need to stay assured that being on this journey can be difficult and it could be long, but it's so fulfilling to just wake up in the morning one day and be like, dang, I feel like myself. And yeah.
You are loved.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a teacher voice.
How high? Yes.
My daughter has never wanted to melt into a pedal so fast before. She's wearing chicken earrings up there. Hi, Alice.
Hi, Alice.
So she's been streaming on Twitch for a long time, watching your content, and I have been absolutely in awe at how well you support each other. You diligently love, respect, and uphold your values of advocacy and just absolute love for this community. With two teenagers myself, though, I have been here for 3 days. How do we find this in the real world? Because I've been walking around here and I feel it. I'm here for it. But how do I encourage my children where I'm trying to ask them to go out and touch grass? Where do you live outside? Because we found our people here, but where do you live in the real world?
So, I mean, one cool thing about Twitch is there are meetups and community-based meetups in most areas, which is really cool. So just even connecting and like pushing yourself to go to these events, pushing yourself to go to these locations, as daunting as it is with most of us being introverts and living in our little caves while we stream, getting out and having that human interaction and connecting at these events where you know that you will be seen and heard is crucial. And it just takes a little bit of looking around, but it is there and you can find it, and it's definitely worth stepping out of your comfort zone if you're more introverted to have these interactions, kind of like what this entire weekend is.
Yeah, we are running out of time, but I guess we'll just quickly finish answering this. On my end, I don't know. I get a lot of social fulfillment from interacting with people online, honestly. I mean, it's not the best answer to where do I go touch grass, but like, I like to go to like Pokemon events and stuff. Like, I don't know. I feel like even little local meetups of people who share your interests and maybe some more niche categories can end up finding like your people. And not all of them will be queer, but I think like there's just a lot of value in like seeking out people who like the things that you like, and you'll find your support group and supportive people somewhere around there. At least I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Definitely. Game stores.
Yes.
Bookstores.
Tabletop stores.
Tabletop stores.
Tabletop stores.
Yeah. I see so many people. You can't see them in chat, but everybody's like, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. And thank you so much to our wonderful speakers. Can we get a round of applause for... Thank you. Yeah, you're all amazing and wonderful, and thank you so much for being here. Yeah, and that's the panel. I guess.
Enjoy the rest of your con.
I was asked to let y'all know to please exit through the back, and that if y'all happen to find us on the floor, that's how you can talk to us. But we're gonna exit through this way, and then y'all exit that way. But thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your trip and day.
Thank you for coming.
Bye.
Bye.